Look at these ancient, fortified walls. We are in the region of ancient Babylon, near modern-day Iraq. Long before recorded history, this was home to one of humanity's oldest and most physically dominant civilizations. They lived in a lush environment with fertile soil, winding rivers, and soft winds. And according to ancient accounts, they possessed towering physical strength, bodies built like mountains, enjoying complete dominion over their world. Over generations, a subtle shift occurred. It started innocently enough. The people wanted to honor their pious, righteous ancestors, so they carved statues to preserve their memory. But as decades passed, reverence warped into ritual. Veneration became prostration. Soon, the original righteous men were forgotten, replaced by stone idols with names like Wad, Suwa, and Nasor. They were no longer ancestors, they were gods. Into this rigid, idol-worshipping society, a man named Nu stepped forward with a singular message: worship one creator or face destruction. This was a direct threat to the ruling class. The elites drew their power from the existing social order and the idols they controlled. A message of universal equality under one unseen god endangered their entire way of life. The ruling class dismissed Nu with pure arrogance. They pointed to the people listening to him, the poor, the weak, the laborers. The elites reasoned that if the universe's creator had a message to deliver, he would obviously send it through a wealthy, powerful leader. To them, a prophet followed by peasants was a joke. When a society achieves peak physical prosperity and entrenches a rigid class system, the sheer weight of their wealth blinds them. They had beautiful crops, massive strength, and absolute control over their environment, making them incapable of recognizing a spiritual truth that couldn't be measured in gold or status. This timeline visualizes the staggering duration of Nach's mission. While an average human life today is a tiny fraction of this graphic, Nach preached to the exact same society for 950 years. That is nearly a millennium of day and night, public and private pleading. The psychological warfare he faced was relentless. The moment Nach would speak, the town's leaders would physically plug their fingers into their ears and wrap their garments over their faces. Whenever someone's heart softened toward the message, a chieftain would grab their arm, mocking Nach as nothing more than a crazy poor man. Eventually, divine revelation confirmed a terrifying reality. The hearts of the society had calcified. Not a single new person would ever believe. The time for warnings had passed. Nuwa raised his hands and made a desperate plea, asking his lord to leave not a single oppressor alive on the earth, knowing they would only breed more corruption. There is a definitive limit to mercy when it is met with endless arrogance. When a civilization actively guarantees its own spiritual death, infinite patience reaches its logical conclusion, and absolute justice takes over. The divine command that followed seemed impossible. Nuwa was instructed to build a massive 3-story wooden ark. He wasn't on a coastline. He was building it in the middle of a dry, landlocked expanse. From the perspective of the passing elites, the sight was hilarious. A man claiming to be a prophet was now constructing a colossal ship in the sand, miles away from any water. The construction site became the town's favorite source of entertainment. They laughed and asked if he had finally lost his mind. But Nuwa didn't argue. He knew something they didn't. Every plank of wood he laid, every nail he hammered in, was a physical countdown to destruction. While they laughed at the dry sand, he was preparing for an ocean. Committing to ultimate truth rarely earns the applause of a hyper-materialistic society. Taking action on faith often looks completely irrational to people who can only see what is immediately in front of them. Look closely at these fragments of ancient clay pottery. The disaster began in the most ordinary of places, a tandoor, a common household clay oven used for baking bread. But instead of heat, water suddenly and violently began boiling up from inside it. This was the promised sign. In an instant, the gates of the sky tore open, dumping dark, heavy rain, while concealed springs beneath the earth burst forth simultaneously. The water from above and the water from below converged in a violently churning torrent, rapidly swallowing the dry landscape. The laughter of the chieftains stopped immediately. The ground beneath them fractured. The men who boasted of their mountain-like bodies and vast wealth suddenly found their legs shaking. Their palaces, their gold, and their massive physical strength offered zero protection against the rising tide. Nature answers to one command. When ultimate reality manifests, every human-made hierarchy, every bank account, and every physical advantage is neutralized in seconds. Even inside the Ark, Noah faced a profound personal agony. As the massive doors sealed by divine command, he looked out to see his own wife. She had refused the message, choosing to stay behind with the doomed elites, turning her back on her husband's lifelong plea. Then, amidst the deafening roar of the storm and waves crashing like mountains, Noah spotted his son fighting the dark water. Desperate, a father called out to his boy one last time, begging him to board the Ark and leave the disbelievers behind. But the son's arrogance remained intact. He yelled back that he would climb a tall mountain to escape the water. He trusted his own physical ability over divine guidance. Noah warned him that today, absolutely nothing could save anyone except mercy. Moments later, a massive wave crashed between them, and the son was swallowed by the flood. Faith is entirely a personal choice. It cannot be inherited. Ultimate spiritual truth cuts straight through the tightest bloodlines, and placing your trust in physical solutions against a divine decree is a fatal error. Finally, the sky cleared and the earth was commanded to swallow its water. The Ark safely came to rest, marking a newly cleansed earth. This boat-shaped geological formation in the hills remains a physical echo of that massive vessel, anchoring a story of a pure restart for humanity. The giant people of Babylon were destroyed for worshipping stone, but humanity hasn't stopped building idols. Today, our statues aren't carved out of rock. They take the shape of an endless obsession with career, the vanity of social media, and a desperate need for approval. The water isn't physical anymore, but the flood is everywhere. The modern Ark is built with Tawhid, the belief in one God. Its planks are your daily prayers, and its compass is the Quran. These are the only true shelters from the chaos of modern life. The warning hasn't changed in thousands of years. When the crisis inevitably hits your life, will you step onto the Ark of faith, or will you stubbornly drown, clinging to the mountain of your own pride?